Good Monday morning. Welcome to Twinn number 16, This Week in Nerd News, where I want to just share 5 stories with you that we need to pay attention to this week. In this first one, we read about the untold story of the SolarWinds hack, and it really is a very big deep dive that's worth a read. And one of the things I want to point out to you too, actually, is this poor guy, the CEO, actually walked into this fire, as it were, as he was brought on as a CEO just as this was breaking. But what's interesting is how this actually began. The whole thing began, as we read here, with just a little snippet of code that doesn't do anything. It was literally just checking to see if the processor was running. It was 32 or 64-bit. It was like a proof of concept for the malicious cyber criminals to see if they could get away with it. So, and obviously they did, because in the later production version of Orion, the SolarWinds software at the center of all of this was in fact published, fully signed with this code installed. And so it's interesting how very, very sophisticated this hack was. The second story is about how the FBI has been accessing Exchange servers around the country with the permission of the courts to remove hacks. Normally, they have not done this in the past, so this is brand new that they're actually reaching into infected Exchange servers and then using the weakness in Exchange to remove an implant of an attacker. So it is a new reality that law enforcement has decided that it is in the country's best interest to do this. And a story that's kind of personal to many people that I know is where parents are already struggling with the COVID and school situation, and now on top of that, having the kids' schools being ransomwared makes things even more complicated. This is the first time, though, where we are seeing the story actually being as public as it is. I want to show you, I'm not sure how well this will show up, but here is what the chat was like, where the attacker says, "What happened? The bad news is that we hacked your network and encrypted your servers, as well as downloaded more than 1 terabyte of your personal data, including financial contracts, databases, and other documents containing social security number, addresses, date of birth, and other information about students and teachers." And it goes on to say that the ransom is $40 million. And the person who responds says, "I am speechless. Surely this is a mistake. Are there zeros in that number by mistake?" And then the response is, "According to the records, your revenue is more than 4 billions. So it is possible amount for you. We also made a research to throw your finance and know that you own the required amount." This is just an illustration that shows that the attackers really do their homework and set the ransom at an amount that they believe is payable, that they'll get away with. And this story here is all about how WhatsApp is a threat to our privacy, because you cannot control who can see whether or not you're online. And so this is worth reading if you care about your privacy, but also just another reminder that you might want to switch to a solution where this isn't the issue. And the final story is about how 100 million more IoT devices are exposed, and they won't be the last. Many of these IoT devices that are running this REC TCP/IP stack, so that's a bunch of code that's available for an IoT device like a light switch, a thermostat, a remote security camera, how these tools are using a built-in stack that has all these vulnerabilities. And even though a patch is available, the truth is the vast majority will never be patched, because they are purchased on Amazon, they're purchased from a vendor that made a one-time sale, there's no support contract to go with it. And so as a result, we have a long future ahead of us where these kinds of exposed devices will make us vulnerable. But there's an answer to this, right? Which is to say that as long as we focus on the fundamentals of zero trust network access, and we isolate these devices, then that's the reality that we're living with today. It is practical to live with a disease, just like in the real world, as long as those hosts are isolated, right? And in the tech world, it's the same. And just a bit of a did you know here, this NetNewsWire app that you can get on a Mac, on iPhone, and iPad is a wonderful RSS reader. So many people are still missing the days when Google stopped supporting their own. And here we are. We have an alternative. Have a wonderful week of April 19th. Bye for now. See you next week.